Hi, my name is Charlie Allan. I've got an engineering background and I was actually lucky enough to be going through my engineering degree when the iPhone was launched. So seeing that happen, a bunch of my colleagues ended up going in to do software, really eat out the market on that end. What I saw was an opportunity around how the hardware was evolving and the sensor technologies that were being developed and how that could be applied for IoT applications. And so I went down and did a master's in engineering at McGill University. And that's where I met an orthopedic surgeon that was dealing with this trauma problem that we wanted to try to figure out a better solution around. So the issue specifically is compartment syndrome. We talked about it a little earlier. And really the issue that they're dealing with is that there's no objective way to monitor this problem. And so what we were trying to do is find out a better way to do that. Together, me and Dr. Harvey, we founded this company. In 2019, we're now commercial stage, and we just closed a $12.5 million round of financing. The issue around compartment syndrome today is really that it's diagnosed using pain. And that's really not an easy way to diagnose it. And so to put it in perspective, a recent example would be Tiger Woods, who recently got into his car accident and is still recovering from not just the fracture itself, but the underlying disease. He ended up developing compartment syndrome. And it's not just the disease itself, but also the therapy. You can see what's happening here. Trauma causes the muscle to start to build up pressure. And the only way to release that today is by doing a fasciotomy, which is a very invasive procedure that carries its own set of complications. But it's the necessary thing that we need to do today to diagnose this, or to treat this. On the flip side, there was a 19-year-old patient, soccer player, that was doing his intramural soccer game, and he broke his leg while he was doing that. And so we went to the hospital in Minnesota, and the doctor ended up treating his tibia fracture and associated his pain to the fracture itself. And let him leave the hospital. And because there was no objective way to see what was going on, he ended up developing, the pain got worse and worse to the point where he had to come back to the hospital. At that time, it was too late. And so multiple surgeries later, he lost the function of walking, and so he sued the hospital, won a $111 million payout, but he'll never walk again. And 3 hours can be the difference between walking out of the hospital and not. And so what we're there to do is truly try to find a way to objectively measure this and quantify it over time. And just to make matters more difficult, trauma doesn't happen on schedule, and it doesn't happen when you want it to happen ideally. So the resources that are available are not always there. Every physician has its own interpretation of pain, and that all compounds to making it a very difficult disease to diagnose. And it's often missed or late diagnosed. So what we were trying to do was shift something that was a reactive and emergency to a proactive diagnosis. Today, there's about 500,000 people that are at risk of compartment syndrome. Our solution is there to monitor these patients so that we can de-risk this opportunity, this problem. We've done a lot of clinical work, both from the preclinical models to the clinical side. But the way to really tie this together is usually what I found is with a story. One of the patients that we've recently helped was a 21-year-old patient that, similar to the 19-year-old soccer player, he broke his leg. And the doctors were trying to figure out what was going on. The fracture was set up properly. The patient obviously did not come in at the right time. They came in around 9 to 10 o'clock at night. At the time, presented with no clinical signs of compartment syndrome, but because they were at risk of developing it, they placed one of our devices in. What they found was that the pressures were starting to be picked up early, and it really gave an early sign of what was to come. To give you, this is what the sign looked like, and what you could really see is that though there weren't clinical signs, the pressure was showing that there was an evolving impending compartment syndrome that was being developed in this patient. And so with this data, the physician that was actually at home was able to visualize this and know that they needed to do something about it. So they moved the case up to be the first case in the morning, and ended up, while they were bringing him to the OR, saw that he was just starting to see clinical signs. They did a fasciotomy and corrected the procedure. And we're able to do it before there's any lasting consequences. So this patient had a full recovery and is back living his normal life because of this technology. And really, what we're able to provide is a global picture to be able to see how this disease is evolving over time, whether the pressures are going up, that's bad, or down, and then things will be okay. So that's the key behind our technology. It's a device, a single-use device that can measure pressure continuously over a 24-hour period and relays the data to a mobile app, which allows the care team to see what's happening as it's developing over time. It's very easy to use. Today, physician assistants, residents are typically the ones putting it in, as well as some of the nursing staff are involved in the care of these patients. And it allows for the whole team to be visualizing something that previously was a lot more difficult to diagnose. So we didn't just do case studies. We actually ran several prospective clinical studies, 2 of which are completed. We have 3 others that are ongoing. What we found is that the device has been really able to help increase the accuracy of diagnosis to 100%. So it's really helping the physician figure out what's happening to this patient. But more importantly, it's allowing for it to happen at an earlier time period. So we're able to catch this disease 5 hours faster than you otherwise could, which, as I said earlier, is a very important amount of time to improve the outcomes of those patients. When you add faster diagnosis and accuracy, what that leads to is a cost savings. And what we've been able to show with some of the work that's being done with third parties is that we're able to show to reduce the cost of care for these patients by $2,800 per use of our device. That's including the price of our product. As I said earlier, we're a single-use device. We're moving from a payment per patient to a subscription model, which we're going to be rolling out in the coming months. What I'm excited about now is that we're really at the forefront of this. We're starting to see all this data coming together along with some of the clinical studies that are ongoing. And we're working to use this to leverage AI in the future to continue to add more value to the offering that we provide. As I said, we were actually launched in October of last year, 2022. And since then, we've seen some significant growth in the number of hospitals that have onboarded. These are all high-profile trauma centers across the U.S. Our goal is to get to 50 hospitals by the end of this year, and we're on pace to do that. And so with that, we've got a great team behind us that is really physicians-founded, so really starting with that problem that we were dealing with. And we started building out a commercial organization around that. And we're really excited about where we're going. The goal here of what I'm doing is to meet with strategic companies to help push our product forward. We know that it's not just going to be us that's going to help make this happen. We need to leverage the greater community, and any strategic partnerships that are available we'd be interested in helping. Our goal as an organization is to make trauma outcomes more predictable. So thank you.